And Chris, I see you've rejoined us. Would you like to do a microphone test? I can hear you, but it's very low. I cannot hear you very well. I can barely make it out. And Tony, I see you just joined us. Would you like to do a microphone test?
Hello. Are you able
Hello.
to hear me?
I can hear you. Thank you very much.
Good morning.
And if there's anyone else that would like to do a microphone test, please let me know, or just go ahead and speak into the microphone. Other than that, the meeting will start in just a couple minutes. Thank you very much. And
recording in progress.
Supervisor Wasserman, I see you've joined us. Would you like to do a microphone test?
Yes, now I can. Thank you.
There you are. I can see you and I can hear you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I had to move all around. Hey, Sylvia.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
At the appropriate moment, I would like to introduce our new SEPA director. Thank you.
Absolutely. We'll do that first thing. I think we have 10 o'clock. I see Supervisor Smidian. Good morning, everybody. Unless you're in New York, then it's good afternoon. And let's call this meeting to order, starting off with a roll call.
Good morning, Vice Chairperson Simidian.
Here.
And Chairperson Wasserman.
Here as well. Thank you, Dave. That brings us both here. Good morning, Supervisor Simidian. And before we turn to public comment, I'd like to turn to our Deputy County Executive, Sylvia Gallegos, with a very special announcement.
Thank you, sir. So it gives me great pleasure to announce that we have filled the Director of Consumer Environmental Protection Agency duty. And I'm here to present Edgar Nolasco. He was previously with San Benito Superior Courts and also the County of San Benito as their deputy administrator. And as I like to tell him, he's now stepping up. We're bringing up from the farm team to the big leagues. So with that, Edgar, did you want to make it just a brief comment?
Please, yeah, Edgar, and welcome. Good morning.
Thank you. Good morning, Chairperson Wasserman and Vice Person Simidian and members of the public. My name is Edgar Nolasco, and it is my privilege and honor to be with you today. And I'm excited to be part of SEPA and the County of Santa Clara. When I might take a second, I want to take a quick second to recognize Sylvia for her leadership and thank her for leading SEPA these last 6 months, all while being Deputy CEO and everything that it is. I can't tell you, I've been here 9 days and I don't know how she quite an impressive feat.
Yeah, she's amazing. That's for sure. That's for sure. Well, welcome to the team, Edgar. I'm going to be around for 3.5 more months, but you're joining a fabulous organization, a fabulous team of experienced individuals that really care about Santa Clara County, its people, in all aspects. And Santa Clara County is the real deal. Like I tell my son who lives in San Francisco doesn't even have a football team anymore. So you join the big leagues, Edgar. All right. Welcome aboard. All right. With that, we are going to move, Dave, to public comment on any items not on today's agenda. Anybody watching this meeting that wishes to speak about anything not on today's agenda, please register electronically right now. Give it a few more seconds. I know our regulars know the process. All right. I don't see anyone. Do you, David?
I do not, sir.
All right. We'll consider public comment handled. We'll now move to the consent calendar, item number 3. And again, any individuals who wish to speak about any item on today's consent calendar, which currently consists of items 10 through 19, please register electronically so we can recognize you, and you may do so. Supervisor Simidian, any additions, subtractions, or a motion?
If I could ask for a 1-minute pause, Supervisor, I need to review some late breaking information. If I can ask you to just bear with me for a moment. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much. Move approval of the consent calendar is contained in our published agenda.
Thank you. That would be items 10 through 19. And Dave, would you concur that we had a speaker, the speaker disappeared, and we have none registered now?
I do concur with that, sir.
Thank you very much. Roll call vote, please, Dave.
Vice Chairperson Simidian
Aye.
and Chairperson Wasserman.
I as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Edgar, you'll experience, I like to move things along in an efficient, professional manner. We don't skip anything that the public wants or to speak, but we don't dilly-dally either. All right, with that, we're moving on to item number 4. And item number 4 is entitled Receiving a Report from the Department of Planning and Development, which will be Jacqueline Onciano, relating to a proposed objective development standards and text amendments to the County of Santa Clara, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's Senate Bill number 9, local ordinance. Jacqueline.
Yes, thank you, Chair Wasserman, Supervisor Simidian. We have a presentation for you. The presentation will be presented by Associate Planner Robert Kane. And we also have County Counsel Lizanne Reynolds available for any questions that may arise. So Robert Kane, if you would commence the presentation, appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. Let me share my screen with you.
Good morning, Robert, and thank you for the 200 pages of information you sent us ahead of this meeting.
Yeah, it's certainly a lot, Chairperson Wasserman. I'll try to give you a synopsis in my report.
Sure.
Good morning. As Director Onciano mentioned, I'm an associate planner with the Department of Planning and Development. The point of this agenda item for us is to discuss the proposed ordinance amendments to implement Senate Bill 9 in the unincorporated county. Specifically, the department would like to present the objective standards that we are proposing to Hewlett for the committee's feedback. I'll begin with a brief overview of the new state law. Senate Bill 9 is one of over 30 new housing laws signed by the governor in 2021, one of several specifically addressing the housing crisis. SB 9 addresses housing density, streamlined approvals, and objective development standards. The intent of the law is to allow denser residential development in urban areas. It requires jurisdictions to approve 2-unit developments and subdivisions on qualifying parcels in urban, single-family residential zones without a discretionary review or public hearing. An SB 9 project could include 1 single-family home and 1 urban primary unit, as well as 1 ADU and 1 junior ADU on an existing lot, or 1 single-family residence and 1 other unit on each lot after an urban lot split. The intention of the law is to make it easier for individual property owners to add additional housing units in urban areas. All projects must be considered ministerially with no public hearings, and only objective standards can be considered. These projects are exempt from CEQA. SB 9 overrides certain local standards and requires local jurisdictions to waive other standards that would prevent the development of at least 2 800-square-foot dwellings on qualified parcels. SB 9 also extends parcel map expiration dates in certain cases. SB 9 applies to urban areas. This is defined in the law as any city that contains an urban area, and for unincorporated counties, parcels completely within an urbanized area or urban cluster as designated by the US Census Bureau. This area will therefore change every 10-year census cycle, and the county does not independently determine if an area is urban or not. SB 9 is limited to single-family residential zones, and certain parcels are clearly exempt due to historic listing or value as farmland or other natural resources. Some zones are clearly single-family residential, and some are clearly not. A and AR, for example, are designated for agriculture and ranch lands and would not be eligible for SB 9 development. The orange areas on this map are potentially eligible for Senate Bill 9. SB 9 includes requirements for on-site wastewater systems and protects rental and affordable housing properties. SB 9 units cannot be rented for less than 30 days. An urban lot split can only be used once per property. Please note also that the building official can deny any project if specific findings are made. As I mentioned previously, Senate Bill 9 only applies to parcels in single-family residential zones. Parcels in historic districts or listed properties cannot use Senate Bill 9, nor can parcels containing prime farmland, wetlands, habitat for protected species, or that are protected through tools such as conservation easements. Properties located in hazard zones must demonstrate that the risks are adequately mitigated in order to proceed with Senate Bill 9. The state law requires jurisdictions to allow a minimum of 2 800-square-foot units on a qualifying lot, and local jurisdictions must adjust standards on a case-by-case basis to allow this without requiring a formal variance. SB 9 also reduces or eliminates parking requirements for projects developed using this law. SB 9 only requires jurisdictions to approve 2 total dwelling units on each lot that have been subdivided using the urban lot split. Lots created using the urban lot split must be at least 1,200 square feet in area and must be of roughly equal size. The smaller lot cannot be less than 40% of the original lot. Lots can only be split using SB 9 one time. The resulting lots are restricted to residential uses. The department is currently processing SB 9 with the following development standards based on existing zoning ordinance. The first unit on any lot, the single-family residence, must meet the existing zoning requirements as far as setbacks, height, and FAR and lot coverage where applicable. After a lot split, this applies to the first unit on both resulting lots. The additional unit allowed under SB 9, which we call the urban primary unit, has reduced side and rear setbacks. This requirement means that for a lot splits in urban districts, some houses will need to be demolished or extensively modified to meet the existing zoning setbacks. Alternatively, an applicant could choose to add units instead of splitting the lot without modifying their existing dwelling. Staff does not propose changing these requirements in the proposed ordinances in order to maintain current neighborhood character. As demonstrated here, additional units allowed under SB 9 will be allowed to be placed very close to neighboring property lines. Staff is proposing a number of standards in order to help facilitate development in our county in keeping with standards that are already in place. We're allowing SB 9 units to be attached or detached. New units will have the same front yard setback as the single family residence in that zoning district. For fire safety and fire rated walls are fire rated walls are required when structures are less than 5 feet from a property line, and structures on the same parcel must be at least 6 feet apart. Staff is also proposing several standards to address privacy concerns, since the urban primary unit can be built 2 stories at only 4 feet from the side and rear property lines. These include requiring clear story windows, which are windows that have a bottom windowsill located at least 6 feet above the finished floor for any exterior wall within 8 feet of a neighboring property. We're also proposing a ban on balconies, second-story decks, and roof decks for units that do not meet the single-family residential setbacks. and placing exterior stairways so that they face the street or the interior of the lot. Staff also wants to ensure SB9 development in special combining districts will remain within the neighborhood characteristics while still complying with the state law. We propose light reflective value limits on exterior walls and roofs, as well as wall plane size limitations for properties in design review districts, as well as exempting 800 square feet from the floor area ratio caps where they exist to comply with the state mandate that a second unit of up to 800 square feet be allowed on all eligible parcels. For subdivisions under SB9 or urban lot splits, staff proposes a minimum 50-foot frontage for each resulting parcel. If the original parcel cannot accommodate this, we will require a flag lot formation with the access corridor a minimum of 15 feet wide. Lots which would end up being narrower than 3-to-1 depth to width ratio may also choose a flag lot formation. Staff is proposing a maximum square footage of 1,600 square feet for the urban primary units built using SB9. This size was chosen because it is slightly larger than the median single-family residence in the unincorporated county across the 5 zoning districts that SB9 can be used in. Staff is requesting Hewlett provide us with their recommendation on this item specifically. While all members of SIMPAC and the Planning Commission voted in favor of capping the size of these units, neither body could reach a consensus on what size that should be. Staff would also support a 1,200 square foot maximum based on what the state law caps ADU units at. Throughout the ordinance amendment drafting process, staff has conducted outreach through our website, individual engagement, and since December 2021 has hosted or presented at a robust series of 18 outreach and public meetings, including at Hewlett, Planning Commission, and SIMPAC. We intend to present the proposed amendments to the Board of Supervisors for adoption once feedback from Hewlett has been received. We have a number of staff from the Department of Planning and Development and County Council's office to answer any questions you might have. Thank you. This concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Robert. Excellent job. You have 2 extremely experienced elected officials here, myself with 20 years as an elected official, and I believe Supervisor Simidian is in his 60th or 70th year, if I recall correctly. I'm joking. He's got just a few more than me, another dozen or so. But I have never seen greater outreach in public meetings about an issue in my entire career. This is the 18th, basically, public hearing, department outreach, and then the Board of Supervisors will be the 19th one. And the fact that you achieved so much consensus is a real credit. A real credit to you, Robert, and all those that are working with you, and Jacqueline in your office that are involved in this. Supervisor Simidian, we have one speaker. May we hear from that person first, and I'll turn to you. Thank you, sir. David, if you'll please recognize our speaker and give he or she 2 minutes.
The next speaker is Brian Schmidt. I'm unmuting you. Please accept the unmute. You'll have 2 minutes to speak. The timer will start when you begin speaking.
Good morning, Brian Schmidt for Green Foothills. I wanted to raise an issue that came up, a planning commissioner mentioned it, and I don't think it has been addressed. I apologize if it has since been addressed. There is a lot to digest here. But the issue is that SB9 is supposed to apply to urban areas. And if you refer to either attachment D or one of the previous slides, it shows where those urban areas supposedly apply to unincorporated county areas. And that big splotch towards the bottom is San Martin. And anyone familiar with San Martin could say, based on personal knowledge, the vast majority of that area, that big orange red splotch, is not urban areas. It's only being defined by that because the U.S. Census Bureau has defined those areas as urban. The Census Bureau is in the process, as I understand it, right now of redefining what is considered an urban area. So my concern is that this is going to get locked in with this map when the Census Bureau is going to come out with a more restrictive definition that would define that smaller. So is there any way that this can be addressed? Maybe the regulations should say, use the Census Bureau definitions as they exist at the time of an application to use an SB9 type of split or urban development. And then finally, second item I want to raise is we support the smaller maximum unit to be put on 1,200 square foot. I believe they said the state recommended maximum size or minimum size would be 800 feet. Seems appropriate in areas, especially like San Martin, which are not truly urban areas. Thank you.
That concludes our speakers.
Thank you, Brian. Robert, I'll turn back to you or Jacqueline. Sylvia, I don't know who we have from County Council, but that was an interesting point that Brian brought up. Oh, Lizanne, I see there. Great. Could somebody please address that comment?
Sure, there's a couple things here. First of all, we would agree that San Martin is rural. That is how the county views it. It's how it's viewed in our general plan. That's how it's viewed in many of our policies. Personally, I wish that the state had used urban service areas as a boundary instead of the Census Bureau, but we have to deal with the state law as it's written, and they've chose to use the US Census Bureau. The speaker is correct that they are changing from a population threshold to a household threshold. But I would add that the map that we showed is not a static map. So our boundaries will change as the US Census Bureau changes. There's no need to amend our proposed ordinances to make that so. That is how we approach it. So if someone were to apply today, they will use the map. We'll use the map that I showed. But should that map change, we'll use whatever the current map is as presented by the US Census Bureau.
Thank you. And Lizanne, are you comfortable with all that?
Yes.
Super. Thank you very much. That ends our public speaker supervisor committee, and I'm turning to you now for questions or comments.
Yeah, couple of thoughts, Mr. Chair. I believe staff is asking that we forward this to our full board after receiving the report. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, it is.
All right. Then I think to the comment from our public speaker about the definition of rural, I appreciate and understand staff's clarification that the mapping is a dynamic process, that it will change as definitions change. Here's my concern. We may think we know that today as we sit in a virtual meeting with fewer than 50 attendees and participants, but as someone who was at the county and then came back more than a decade later, institutional memories sometimes fade, people come and go. So I'm not, I guess what I'm looking at, and I see Ms. Reynolds has her hands up, is there a way we can document for the record a little more robustly than simply the assurance, which is very much appreciated, but the assurance here in a committee meeting. Through the chair, I'll pause if you want to go to Ms. Reynolds, which
I do. Thank you, Lizanne.
Yes, so the ordinance very specifically describes the areas in which these lot splits and extra development are allowed as those defined by the US Census Bureau. So it's already very explicit in the ordinance that however the US Census Bureau defines urban areas, that is what controls under our ordinance. So it would automatically flow along with whatever the US Census Bureau, whatever methodology they use at the time an application is submitted.
And the I guess my concern is that if the ordinance says the definition is as to provided by the Census Bureau, that could be misunderstood or misconstrued as meaning at the time the ordinance was adopted, if it doesn't actually explicitly say subject to change, subject to change. Does it say subject to change?
It does not expressly say subject to change.
All right. What's the timing on, if I may, through the chair, what's the timing on bringing this to our board? And is there any reason why that couldn't be explicitly called out in the ordinance?
Yeah, we could add that clarification. It's not a substantive change, so it wouldn't require re-referral to the Planning Commission.
Ms. Reynolds, I know you're a veteran, so you'll understand what I'm talking about here. I just got to tell you, you know, people come and go, memories are short. What seems like a detail today could be a critical factor 5-10 years down the road. So I'm going to ask that we forward this to the board with a recommended change on to clarify that point. Just because, you know, whenever there's a conversation with, well, everybody knows, I think now I'm nervous. So that would be helpful. The other thing is I want to forward this without a recommendation from our committee. So that is my motion, Mr. Chair, because we've got some information in my office that suggests that the San Antonio Hills folks have concerns about this is an area with large number of households in the Los Altos Hills neighborhood, have some concerns. My review is that some of the issues they've raised simply can't be addressed by virtue of state law, and whether we like that or not, there we are. And then there were some others where I think staff just has a different judgment or recommendation, and we probably ought to make sure that there's a little more back and forth before the item comes to our full board so that those issues can get teased out. So what I would like to do is offer a motion to receive the report, forward it to the full board, recommend the clarification in ordinance language regarding census definitions, and ask staff to highlight some of these issues that have been raised by the San Antonio Hills folks, and give us the explanation for why they went one way and not another, whether that's a legal explanation or a policy explanation. That's my long-winded motion, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, and I'm sure it was received and recorded, and Robert and Jacqueline are documented it all. For me, what you suggested regarding the census is more of an add-on, an enhancement, a clarification than a change. And so I'm willing to support that. What I am concerned about, Supervisor Submitting, is forwarding this to the board, which was my intention. We're not saying a date certain, or do we have a date certain, Jacqueline? Because the back and forth that Supervisor Submitting and the investigation, the further clarification that he wishes to do with his people in the Los Altos area, I respect. Supervisor Submitting, when do you want this to appear?
Forgive me. I didn't mean that I wanted to have further back and forth. I wanted the staff report from our county staff when it comes to the full board to say, some folks have suggested X, but we can't do X because state law precludes it pursuant to section so-and-so. And then some folks have suggested we do Y,
okay,
but staff has suggested that we take a different route for the following policy reasons. And some folks have suggested Z, and we have now been persuaded we should do Z because it makes eminently good sense. That's what I'm hoping to have. And I know staff is working with some deadlines here, and I'm happy to let them be in charge of that timeline.
All right, so Supervisor Submitting, just for clarification on your example, I think it was C or Z, the third alternative when you said, and staff is now recommending this. I understood the first two when you said this clarification because of this, but the last example was staff is now recommending this. So do you want that? Does that need to appear before Hewlett, or can we resolve that at the board level?
Full board level is fine. I don't think we need to bring it back to this committee. And okay. I don't want to prejudge whether there are areas where they might yet have a change of heart. I just was using that as a possible example.
Okay. And I would hope by the time it reaches our board that we're able to resolve the matter relatively easily with just that Los Altos area being a point of discussion. Is that agreeable with you?
Yes.
Thank you. Jacqueline, your hand is raised.
Just want to say we understand what Supervisor Smitty is looking.
That's super. Okay, we've got a motion. I'm happy to second it. Roll call vote, please, David, as we have no other members of the public.
Vice Chairperson Simidian.
Aye.
And Chairperson Wasserman.
I as well.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was item number 4. We now move on to item number 5. We received the fiscal year 21-22 County of Santa Clara Integrated Pest Management Program Annual Report from the Office of Sustainability. And with that, Nareesh, there's Jasneet.
Yeah, good morning, Supervisor Wasserman. This is Jasneet Sharma, Director for the Office of Sustainability.
Yes.
We have staff present here to make a brief verbal presentation, if you would so choose. So I'd like to introduce Nareesh Dugal, the IPM Program Manager, and then Chris Curry, Senior Management Analyst with our office as well, who can make some brief verbal comments.
Thank you. And if anyone's watching this meeting virtually and you wish to speak on this item, please register electronically at this time. And I think your report came in at 208 pages. So you just beat out the prior one. All right, let's have a brief report.
We will make the comments, the summary brief.
Thank you.
Good morning, Chairperson Supervisor Wasserman and Supervisor Simidian and members of the committee. Thank you very much for giving us an opportunity to present annual IPM progress report. I would like to introduce Chris Curry, Senior Management Analyst in the Office of Sustainability, to provide you the brief. Chris, over to you.
Morning.
Morning.
We're very pleased to provide to you the IPM program annual report, highlighting accomplishments and also alerting of challenges that lie ahead. In the past, in addition to executing a full-time countywide program, IPM program staff have also consistently engaged in many natural resource management projects that were required for successful internal operations and external outcomes. There are currently only 2 people staffed in the IPM program, and consistently IPM program staff has carried workloads in order to develop and complete those projects that by numerous measures provide substantial benefits in the areas of public health, sustainability, fiscal savings, technical expertise, and ecological protection. This was completed without additional staffing or programmatic funding. IPM program staff believed very strongly in the potential of this work to solve some of those pressing issues facing this county: environmental pollution, climate change, drought, extreme heat, biodiversity loss, environmental inequality, and many more. And now for the county to continue to be effective in addressing those environmental issues and in providing sustainability leadership, IPM program staff recommended the work summarized in this report be not only sustained, but also expanded. These are necessary services that both public and private, internal and external stakeholders across jurisdictions depend on the county to provide. We now have the opportunity to consider generational investments to sustain these projects. Now, climate change has made the county more susceptible to pests and diseases, requiring corresponding and proportional allocation of resources to the IPM program, as well as investments from individual departmental budgets. The urban forestry work summarized in the report now has reached the level of a full-time program and requires sustained full-time staffing, administrative support, and programmatic resources. IPM staff have already completed a thorough report on the state of urban forestry in the county and the corresponding needs, and can submit that for board review. We hope that this report conveys that a relatively small investment that supports the IPM program, that establishes the urban forestry program, and that keeps the county at the vanguard of regional environmental leadership will produce valuable returns. With this information, we look forward to your support, guidance, and direction. And thank you.
Supervisor Wasserman, this is Sylvia Geiges. I wanted to expand upon this comment.
He's quite the salesman, Sylvia.
Yes, sir. And the work is laudable and important. But I, on behalf of the county exec's office, have to emphasize that our process is that departments and offices, when departments submit their proposals, and the county executive has the unenviable job of taking into consideration all proposals and trying to find the right balance. As you know, as a supervisor who has to be responsible for all of our county programs, it's very challenging.
Yep.
And so we are aware, and requests will be made, and the board has also the duty to find the right balance with respect to all the myriad needs at the county. So I just wanted to make sure we provided that with this context.
Thank you. I appreciate that, and certainly isn't unenviable and practically impossible job to do one size fits all. I think it's frankly ridiculous to have to do that, but I get it. All right, we have a member of the public wishing to speak, Supervisor Smitty, I'll turn to that individual and then back to you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Let's recognize our person speaking. Continue with 2 minutes, please, David.
The next speaker is a phone caller ending in 051. I'm unmuting you. Please accept the unmute. You'll have 2 minutes to speak. The timer will start when you begin speaking.
Go right ahead.
And it looks like we are still waiting for that person to unmute. I believe the prompt to unmute on a phone is *6. And if it's not that, it's *9.
Wow, good knowledge.
We'll try that one more time. We'll ask him to unmute.
*6 or *9?
And this person is, oh, here we go. Looks like the mic is
Hello,
open.
can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes,
please go
we
ahead.
can.
Hello. My name is Anna Griffin. I'm with SEIU 521, also with the County Roads and Airports Department. I am an IPM TAG committee member, and I was involved with the development of the 2001 Santa Clara County IPM ordinance because of the IPM ordinance. And I'd like to just reiterate about how valuable that the IPM program is. It's like pesticides, because of the IPM alternative use of pesticides, our members feel safe and protected. It's not what it costs, it's what it saves. Because in the office, pesticides was used in the office workers and hours, and they experienced some nervous and immune system because of the pesticide use were DRS bad. And the court awarded 5 of the county workers $1.5 million for their disability, for their permanent disabilities. And again, I like to reiterate that our employees feel definitely safe and protected because of the alternative uses of pesticides in Santa Clara County. Thank you.
Thank you for calling.
And that concludes our speakers.
Thank you, David. We'll turn back to Supervisor Simidian.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And now I'm going to tease you back, if I may, sir. Since you were teasing me a little bit about my longevity of public service, I'm going to make you listen to a story, which is this IPM work actually began in the late 90s. And I know that because I was here on the board at that time. And it was a passion of mine at the time. And you heard the speaker reference 2001, and that's because we didn't actually get an ordinance delivered or a department created on my watch. It fell to my successor, Supervisor Liz Niss, to actually implement the good work that had been done by others previously. But my point is there's a long history here and a commitment, and it's one that doesn't get a lot of visibility. It's kind of an essential part of the work, in my view, that just goes about its business. But let me just ask a question. If somebody said, how many people are how many staff are assigned to IPM? The answer to that is what?
Jasny?
At this time, Supervisor Simidian, it's 2 staff that you're seeing here, Naresh and Chris Curry.
Okay. And, I take Ms. Gallegos' point to heart about the budget process, but I was preparing to lean in on this one because won't surprise Ms. Sharma to know I knew the answer to that question when I asked it. That's why I asked it. And I just want to say, you know, in the 10 years that I've been on the board with you now, Mr. Wasserman, our staff has grown by roughly 50% at the county. Our budget has grown by, I don't know, 90+% during that 10-year time, notwithstanding the fact that the population growth has been about 6% and inflation's been 20+%. We've had dramatically greater levels of growth in the organization, and you know, for the most part, I'm very pleased by that. It allows us to do more for more folks who need our help. That being said, if we've grown our organization by 7,000-8,000 people, and IPM is primarily an internal function trying to provide services to our organization. I think it's hard to make the case that 2 people is still enough in an organization with 22,000 employees. I just think that's a tough argument to make with a straight face. And if it sounds like I'm being pretty pointed about it, it's because I am. The other thing I would say is, I think it was probably, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago when a couple of us on the board, so we need to own this, pushed to step up our efforts around the urban forest, particularly in the aftermath of the drought. I'm thinking back to essentially new responsibilities that we passed along to staff. My recollection is that those got handed off to the vast 2-person empire of IPM to implement. And that's an additional burden. So with all that background, and thank you for your patience, Mr. Chair, I think what I'd like to suggest is if we're going to receive the report, let's receive the report, but direct staff to report back to us as part of the mid-year budget process on the staffing needs of IPM and whether or not the forestry programs are in the right department or office. And I think that would be my motion in addition to the receive report piece.
Thank you. I'm happy to join you in that motion. I also, for the record, just want to read in when I read this report, one couple sentences that I had asterisked for anybody that is listening at home or for the record that I think is just absolutely amazing. Using reduced risk pest management strategies in all 28 regional parks, the IPM program has been able to significantly reduce pesticide use. In fiscal year 2021-22, 27 parks were managed only by non-chemical methods, which resulted in 99.99% of the total county park acreage being managed non-chemically for vegetation, aquatic, and vertebrate pest issues. And I think that's quite commendable. That's quite amazing. Supervisor, I'm on board. I've seconded your motion. Did you have an additional comment to make?
Yeah, just briefly to add, thank you for the second, Mr. Chair. I'm going to take yes for an answer. I do want to make sure that when this comes to us at mid-year, we're in a position to take action then if that's appropriate. And I definitely want to see it at mid-year, because if we don't take action at mid-year, I'd like us, when we talk at mid-year, to be able to provide some direction to the staff, back to Ms. Gallegos' process reminder about administrative staff, budget staff, about the coming budget year. So while you won't have the pleasure of those conversations, I wanted to be clear about what the expectation was for mid-year, either something actionable at that time or a very clear opportunity to provide direction with respect to the budget. And the last thing I'll say is, just because it's a personal recollection that makes me smile, the work we do at the local level sometimes trickles up. And in fact, during my first term in the California State Assembly, I was able to author legislation requiring the folks who were responsible for the state capitol grounds to implement IPM practices there. And it wasn't that it had a vast or wide-ranging impact being limited to the Capitol grounds as it was that it was a way to ensure that folks at the state level were looking at these then emerging practices and making sure that they had a deeper understanding of what was possible if only we would consider some options. So good on you is what I wanted to say for IPM, and let's make sure that the job can be done in a robust way. Thanks.
Thank you. Since we're reminiscing, I have one story to share as well. It was back in my first term as mayor in Los Gatos, a city that used to be in my district. Sorry, I just love getting that comment in. We were doing the demolition of the Jewish Community Center on Oka Road. And Jerry Brown was there. And Jerry said, oh, I have such fond memories of being here, where he had landed at that exact site on Oka Road many years prior in a helicopter, and was all about the spraying of melatonin. And he was saying how dangerous it was, and people on the other side of the aisle were arguing that it wasn't. And he said one Republican senator even had a glass of melatonin and drank it and said, see, it's totally fine. And Jerry said, all that proves is it takes more than one glass of melatonin to kill a Republican. And I don't have many memories, but that's one of the few that I do have. All right. With that, we have a motion and a second, and roll call vote, please, David.
Vice Chairperson Simidian.
Aye.
And Chairperson Wasserman.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. That was item 5. We now move on to item 6, receiving report from the Department of Plan and Development related to implementation of Santa Clara County procedures for evaluating vehicle miles traveled. And I'm going to turn to item 6 on here. And Jacqueline, I've got this, your department.
Yes. Yes, thank you. Evaluating vehicle miles traveled. We will be presenting this item to you today, Chair Wasserman and Supervisor Simidian. The presenter will be Bharat Singh, Principal Planner, along with, and accompanying him will be Liz Ann Reynolds from County Council. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Welcome, Bharat.
Good morning, Chairperson Wasserman and Vice Chair Simidian. As Director Unciano mentioned, my name is Bharat Singh, and I'm a Principal Planner with the Department of Planning and Development. Today, I will be presenting a brief overview of Senate Bill 743 and its inclusion of a new transportation impact metric, vehicle miles traveled, or VMT, in the California Environmental Quality Act's evaluation of new projects across the state. This presentation will provide a summarized overview of the new law, SB 743, explain the differences between the old CEQA transportation metric, level of service, or LOS, and the new metric, VMT. We will then go over the department's implementation approach for utilizing VMT in private project evaluations under CEQA. And lastly, outline the next steps in the process to finalize and adopt a new policy regarding incorporating VMT reduction goals for CEQA evaluations on private projects. Senate Bill 743 was enacted in 2013 as one of a series of laws aimed towards reducing California's carbon footprint, starting in 2006 with Assembly Bill AB 32. The California Global Warming Solutions Act of 2006. The intent of SB 743 is to, 1, more appropriately balance the needs of congestion management with statewide goals related to infill development, promotion of public health through active transportation, and reduction of greenhouse gas emissions. And 2, ensure that the environmental impacts of traffic, such as noise, air pollution, and safety concerns, continue to be properly addressed and mitigated through the California Environmental Quality Act. The new law establishes the VMT metric as a CEQA significance threshold for traffic and transportation impacts evaluation. It eliminates level of service, or LOS, as a significant threshold. It changes the focus of mitigation to managing travel demand and encouraging in alternative modes of travel. It provides guidance on new methods to set up thresholds and how to evaluate projects with the new VMT metric. And lastly, it broadens the area of impact from project adjacent areas to the larger community and the region in some cases. The next few slides will outline the differences between the previous CEQA metric, level of service, and the new metric, vehicle miles traveled. Prior to 2020, LOS was the key transportation metric utilized in CEQA. It measured the level of delay during peak hour traffic on a given roadway infrastructure, either segments of road or at intersections and access points. It is measured on a scale of A through F, as shown on the illustration on the right. A being no delays, F being very long delays or stop and go traffic. The primary mitigation solution using LOS is to increase the throughput capacity of the roadway infrastructure. This encourages wider roads and more complex intersections. In order to avoid such improvements, lower intensity development is preferred instead of more compact development. The mitigation approach also doesn't directly incentivize building infrastructure for other modes of transportation. This results in a wider scale of congestion due to dispersal of development over a larger geographic area. The county has been using LOS in evaluating projects not only for CEQA, but also for its parts of it in general plan policies and zoning ordinances. The removal of LOS as a metric for CEQA does not change the general plan and zoning ordinance requirements. As such, the county's general plan policy C-TR12 outlines the LOS goal for county roads to not be lower than D during peak hours. Furthermore, the county zoning ordinances requires use permits to make a finding that the planned use will not substantially worsen traffic congestion affecting the surrounding areas. And similarly, for architecture and site approval, project findings should determine that the project has an insignificant effect on the development on traffic movement in the area. So even with LOS not being a CEQA metric, all projects private projects in the county will still have to make findings in line with our general plan and zoning ordinances. Next, we come to vehicle miles traveled. VMT measures the total amount of distance traveled by vehicles over a period of time within a geographic area. Using travel demand models, VMT can be modeled to estimate how much driving is expected based on a land use or transportation infrastructure. A countywide model is utilized by the Santa Clara Valley Transportation Authority, or BTA, to estimate VMTs among other transportation metrics. The model can determine the VMT per capita, which can be either a per resident or per employee. This measures how many miles a person is likely to travel from home or work based on the existing transportation network and the surrounding land uses. For any given project, the VMT generated by the project, as well as the change in VMT resulting from the project, are measured. For example, a grocery store will generate new VMTs from the new employees at the grocery store, but it would also reduce VMTs for its customers who may have been driving to a grocery store further away prior to the opening of the new grocery store. Using VMT as a metric has several benefits. First, it removes barriers to compact infill development. It measures larger scale impacts of projects on transportation infrastructure that are beyond the immediate project area. By doing so, it provides a more accurate measure of transportation impacts of a project. The mitigation of VMTs focuses on reducing commuting distances rather than congestion, and redirects the efforts towards improving walking, biking, and transit infrastructure. Next is the requirements outlined by the state to comply with SB 743 for CEQA review. The state's Office of Planning and Research, OPR, guidance on the implementation of SB 743 states that the lead agency, in our case, the Department of Planning and Development, should determine its methodology to screen projects, set VMT goals, and develop a mitigation strategies. To that extent, the county needs to identify how it would be evaluating VMTs for different types of projects and locations within unincorporated county, identify appropriate per capita VMT metrics for residential and non-residential trips that would help the state meet its 15% VMT reduction goal, and finally, identify impact mitigation strategies that can be applied by a project. Due to the broad diversity of location within unincorporated county, these requirements bring up a few complex challenges. First, the county-wide per capita VMT, that is the average vehicle miles traveled per person in the county, is highly skewed by the urban and city trips. The overall VMT generated by cities is a very large portion of the overall county VMTs. These trips, in general, are shorter than rural residential trips. This makes the countywide average an unrealistic measure for rural residential and non-residential projects. Secondly, mitigations in rural areas will be very challenging because rural areas lack transit or good bicycle and or pedestrian access, and building those would be prohibitively expensive for any project. Furthermore, rural areas have resource-centric uses such as farms, quarries, and regional parks that cannot be relocated and therefore cannot likely be mitigated by conventional mitigation strategies. Keeping these challenges in context, the department is working on an implementation approach that addresses the geographic expanse of the county. The department is looking to separate its CEQA VMT evaluations between urban and rural areas. For urban service areas, the projects will have to meet the respective cities' screening and VMT reduction goals, which is in line with our general plan, and that defers planning of future development in these areas to the respective cities. For projects in rural areas, the county is determining a specific per capita daily VMT value for both residential and non-residential employment trips. For ongoing projects in the county is evaluating the VMT impacts on a case-by-case basis. And lastly, VMTs being generated from non-residential projects would be evaluated separately for employees and visitors, where the evaluation of visitor trips would be based on the type of the use type being either local or regional in nature. So in conclusion, as the department works through the implementation strategy for VMTs, the department's plan is to bring a draft implementation policy to the Planning Commission and the board later this year or early next year. And the county staff will continue to evaluate private projects on a case-by-case basis, aligned with the Office of Policy and Research guidance till a VMT policy is approved by the Board of Supervisors. And with that, this concludes the presentation. I and Deputy Director Lisa Mikhail, as well as County Council Lizanne Reynolds are here if you have any questions regarding VMT and our intended approach to the strategy of implementation.
Thank you, Bharat. I appreciate that. This received report only. Before I recognize Supervisor Samitian, if he has any comments, Bharat, I'm looking at my PowerPoint. I was looking at your PowerPoint, and I'm trying to figure out what page I don't have in mine. Can you go back to yours for a minute?
Sure.
I rely on PowerPoints for summaries. Can you bring yours back up?
Sure. It's page number 6. And we did submit a new version. Hopefully it may have not.
That's what it is. Okay, so 6 on yours is level of service.
Yes.
And county policy.
Yes.
Okay, and I see that now. Thank you very much, because my page when I got down to it, my page 8 was your page 9, and then
Yes, and
your
then
page
the,
9,
yeah.
mine 10. Thank you. I appreciate that, and I appreciate your very visible page numbers. Supervisor Simidian.
And speaking of very visible page numbers, could I say I particularly appreciated page 6, which I believe is displayed for us all at the moment, Supervisor.
Yes.
And Mr. Singh, first, let me say thank you for a very helpful and thorough presentation because there's a lot of moving parts on this one. I wanted to focus for a minute, Supervisor Wasserman, and talk a little bit with staff on how we can make sure going forward that we don't lose sight of the information here on page 6. The challenge with SB 743 is that I think some people have seen this as an either or a replacement of one standard by another standard, which might be accurate in the context of CEQA, but as Mr. Singh's presentation calls out, it does not mean that LOS, level of service, goes away. It just means that our attention to it takes a different form. Mr. Singh, is everything I've said so far accurate?
That is correct, sir.
Thank you. And I know you'll correct me if I misspeak, so please feel free. And I just want to highlight here, Supervisor Wasserman, and I know, I'm repeating what's already been said, but I really do think it's important we don't lose sight of this, that as the first bullet says, the fact that there are these changes in CEQA does not affect our general plan and zoning ordinance requirements when it comes to level of service. We have a different set of tools. We got a different venue, if you will, where these issues can be raised. And the reason I'm pushing on this is I support vehicle miles traveled as a measure because for both transportation purposes and climate purposes, 10 miles of travel is a whole lot better than 100 miles of travel. Fair enough. That being said, if we've got that reduction in place, but we have triple the number of cars in that last 10 miles, you're going to have a lot of folks who are understandably unhappy about what's happening in that last 10 miles. Yep. And, in any given moment in time when someone is stuck in traffic, they're not thinking about the 90 miles that somebody didn't travel. They're thinking about the fact that they're stuck in traffic and that it seems worse today than it was yesterday. So I just want to use this opportunity in the committee and even maybe provoke you to comment if you're inclined, to say to our staff, thank you for highlighting this fact, because we really do have to continue to pay attention to this issue. It doesn't go away with 743. It simply gets addressed using a different set of tools. And I particularly noted the language about the zoning ordinance in the third bullet there, which says that as we're looking at future projects, we have to be able to make the finding the use will not substantially worsen traffic congestion affecting the surrounding area. And as county staff knows all too well, I suspect, I actually think the findings are important. They matter. So I can't vote for a finding if the facts on the record don't support that finding. And I think this one's an important one when it comes to what I'll just call local traffic, which is, when and where people actually experience it. Thank you for that opportunity. The question I have really has to do with another point that Mr. Singh made that I was really pleased by and impressed by because there was a passing reference to the challenge of making 743 work in a county where the nature of our various unincorporated areas is so different. The area around San Martin is not a whole lot like the area that I referenced earlier in San Antonio Hills. Mm-hmm. Those are very different places. And then we get to Stanford University, which we're going to get to in a few minutes. And it's a unique case in Santa Clara County. It's the one place where we've said all right, by virtue of a tri-party agreement, we're going to have essentially an unincorporated community that continues to grow. And so let me just ask Mr. Singh or any of his colleagues, is this application of the vehicle miles traveled going to work well at a place like Stanford, where, as I understand the approach you're taking, it's essentially to use the nearest city's standards and approach. And in this case, that would probably be Palo Alto, if I understand it right. And I'm just thinking about the kind of non-residential development and, high concentrations of student housing at Stanford that make it very different than the next door city. It's just, the campus, folks in Palo Alto and on the campus, I think would tell you, no, we're two very different places. So I'm just trying to figure out if the approach used in Palo Alto is really going to be an appropriate and workable one for the university.
So if I may,
Yes.
to the chair. So we are looking at these specific issues in particular. Stanford obviously is a different beast than every place else. What we do have is a data set that identifies particular geographic locations and the what is the underlying BMT number, per capita BMT number. So we will compare that and see how similar or dissimilar it is, and make a decision on how do we approach that particular evaluation for Stanford. But again, we're working through the process, so we don't have a very specific answer yet, but we do have data that can help us define our approach.
Well, thank you. And I see another hand popping up, Mr. Chair. So I'll stop after I say thank you. I'm just pleased that staff is attentive to the challenge that we've both just discussed.
Yep. Thank you, Lizanne.
Yeah, I just wanted to point out that there's a subtlety here that this is a methodology that staff is proposing. We are not proposing that the county adopt actual thresholds that would be binding and flexible thresholds for evaluating projects. And that is because, as Bharat noticed, we have so many different kinds of projects. For example, there are no VMT standards available for truck traffic. And as you know, with quarries and some of the other uses that we have, composting facilities, truck traffic is often the biggest traffic generator for a lot of our projects in the rural areas. We have Stanford, which is an odd animal in that people live on the same, a lot of people live in the same place where they work. So that's why we are not proposing the adoption of actual thresholds. These are methodologies, and as we get more experience with the VMT measure, we could refine that over time.
Thank you. Supervisor Simidian, any response, or we'll leave it at that?
I will leave it at that and appreciate the clarification. I know you sometimes waive a motion, but I think we should probably go ahead and formally, I'll move to receive the report as
with your comments.
6. Thanks.
Yep, understood. I'll second that. David, roll call, please.
Vice Chairperson Simidian.
Aye.
Chairperson Wasserman.
Aye as well. Thank you, David. We now move on to item number 7, which understandably is the largest one at 533 pages. And we'll turn to Jacqueline or perhaps Brittany for this presentation on the Stanford University Community Plan Update Report.
Thank you, Chair Wasserman and Supervisor Simidian. Yes, we have been working diligently, so 500 is a good number for us.
There you go.
I'd like to introduce Principal Planner Brittany Bindex. Brittany is with the M Group, and also Jeff Bradley, Principal and President of M Group, is available, along with Lisa Mikhail, the Deputy Director, and Elizabeth Pianka. And myself, we are available. But Brittany Bindex is going to make the presentation, and then the others, we will be available for questions as they may rise. Thank you, Brittany.
All right.
Good morning, Chairperson Wasserman and Vice Chairperson Simidian. Thank you for having me. Again, I'm Brittany Bindex, Consulting Principal Planner from M Group. Joining me today from M Group is Consulting Project Manager Jeff Bradley and Associate Planner Sean Manalo. As Jacqueline mentioned, we have Sylvia Gallegos, Deputy County Executive, and members of the County Planning Department, Jacqueline Anciano, Director of Planning and Development, Lisa McHale, Deputy Director of Planning and Development, and Charu Aluwalia, Senior Planner. Today's presentation includes an overview of the recommended updates to the Stanford Community Plan, with special focus on the housing and circulation chapters. Our goal today is to receive feedback from the committee as we are still working to refine these recommendations. Our agenda for today's presentation includes a brief background of the structure of the existing community plan, including a recap of the 1985 Land Use Policy Agreement. We will then provide an overview of the draft housing policies, circulation policies, and then finally some other general recommended policy updates to the community plan. The presentation is just under 20 minutes long. Additionally, I will take a moment to pause after each chapter to request if the committee would like to ask questions or provide comments.
Alrighty.
To start with some context, this is a map of the Stanford land grant lands in the area. The community plan and all the policies we will be discussing specifically focus on Stanford lands within the unincorporated area of the county. That area is shown here in green, and we'll refer to it as the Stanford Community Plan Area, or SCP area. The other colors provide context for the neighboring jurisdictions that also contain Stanford lands. Starting in the center, the light blue is unincorporated San Mateo County. Just north of that is orange, reflecting the city of Menlo Park. The yellow areas further north, east, and south are the city of Palo Alto. Immediately to the west in the darker blue is the town of Portola Valley, and even further west at the leftmost side of the map, the area in pink is the town of Woodside. Before we dive into the policies, I'll quickly go over some of the background information related to Stanford. In 1985, the County of Santa Clara, the City of Palo Alto, and Stanford University entered into a land use agreement. The agreement, which is still in effect, has the specific purpose of establishing mutual policies regarding land use, annexation, development of Stanford lands in unincorporated Santa Clara County, and community services. Additionally, this agreement states that Stanford intends to continue to provide all municipal services to its academic facilities in the unincorporated area of Santa Clara County. As we move forward in our policy discussion today, it's important to keep in mind the scope of academic uses within the Stanford lands, as they include not just instruction, research, and administrative facilities, but also housing. The Stanford Community Plan, or SCP, is a land use planning document originally adopted in 2000 that guides the growth and development of the SCP area. It works in coordination with the 1985 Land Use Policy Agreement, and it supplements the county's general plan with area-specific goals and objectives. The SCP focuses on two major principles: compact and efficient urban development and conservation of natural resources. The SCP also includes a housing linkage policy, which serves as the primary mechanism for regulating and mitigating development within the plan area. The housing linkage policy requires that housing be developed concurrent with or prior to academic development. Therefore, this policy mitigates housing impacts as well as circulation impacts. Next. In November 2016, the Stanford University submitted a general use permit application, which instigated an effort by the county to update the 2000 community plan. This process is generally referred to as the 2018 General Use Permit, or GUP review. As you are aware, the GUP application was ultimately withdrawn by Stanford in November 2019. However, given the progress already made by the county staff on both the GUP application and the community plan update, at a Board of Supervisors meeting in February 2020, the board directed county staff to continue its process to update the Stanford Community Plan as part of an update to the county general plan. This direction also included a request for further analysis regarding Stanford's activities relative to the provision of municipal services, graduate student housing affordability, and childcare. The resulting studies were shared with the community in April and May of this year. Similar to the general plan, the SCP contains 7 chapters that cover different land use topics. This includes growth and development, land use, housing, circulation, open space, resource conservation, and health and safety. As I previously mentioned, today's focus is on housing and circulation, with a general overview of key changes to other chapters. Each chapter includes a summary and background section, key strategies, policies, and implementation measures. Together, these elements work to provide coordinated focus on the goals, approach, and action for each chapter topic and include an analysis of why each element is necessary. First, we are going to review housing. As discussed in the housing chapter, the SCP characterizes the context for current housing trends as affordable housing is a regional issue of significant concern and great importance. There is an ongoing jobs and housing imbalance. There is market competitiveness for both market and affordable housing. And there is a growing commute distance for Stanford affiliates. The chart on the right of this slide shows the commute distribution of Stanford faculty, staff, and postdocs between 2001 and 2020. Faculty and staff are shown here in red, and postdocs are shown in blue. While many individuals appear to live near campus, a substantial amount are commuting from San Jose, San Francisco, Alameda, and Contra Costa counties, and even beyond. This is the context for housing trends that was also a significant update to the narrative portion of the housing chapter. As we considered the efficiency of the current SCP, we also looked at the pace of on-campus housing production. Since adoption of the 2000 SCP, there have only been 60 new faculty or staff housing units and 4,400 new student beds built on campus. There has also been roughly 1,000 new faculty staff units built on other Stanford land grant properties in Menlo Park and Palo Alto. This lack of on-site housing is considered a major force behind the trends and context I shared on the previous slide. It's important to note that the trends I've mentioned are not new since 2000, and we can see that in the existing housing chapter strategies, which are as follows. Number 1, increase the supply and affordability of housing. 1A, plan for an adequate and balanced housing supply. 1B, facilitate and expedite needed residential development. And strategy number 2, ensure compatibility of new housing with existing neighborhoods.
Okay.
So before I jump into the policies and implementation measures, one more change to note throughout the chapter is that the updates expand the population being housed. Specifically, references to students and faculty have been updated to reflect the broader population at Stanford and will now be described as undergraduate students, graduate students, faculty, staff, postgraduate fellows, and other workers. In the next 2 slides, I will summarize the policy and implementation measures provided in the draft housing chapter. I will also indicate how the policy or implementation measure issue relates to the existing 2000 SCP, or how it may differ from the recommended conditions of approval during the county's consideration of Stanford's 2018 GUB application before it was withdrawn. This is the case with the first policy we have listed here, providing all new housing as documented by a linkage policy nexus study. The concept of a nexus study was introduced during the 2018 GUP application process and will be a recommendation that carries forward to the SCP update. The remaining housing policy and implementation issues are all new concepts. These include preventing spillover of housing into surrounding cities, requiring housing to be located on campus or on contiguous Stanford lands, requiring construction of affordable housing instead of in lieu payments, and encouraging affordable housing beyond what's required. The following are also new policies and implementation measures included in the SCP update. A streamlined approval process for housing located near transit, ministerial approval for designated opportunity sites in the housing element, encouragement for deeper financial assistance for housing, expansion of on-campus housing eligibility for Stanford affiliates, and encouraging Stanford to align with state law and allow for the development of accessory dwelling units or ADUs on their property. As we have already had 3 Planning Commission study sessions on these recommendations, we do have some general feedback from Stanford. Stanford has asked the county to consider the following: provide greater flexibility with the location of required housing, especially affordable housing. And similarly, provide greater flexibility on how affordable housing obligations are met. Provide objective design standards beyond the housing opportunity sites to facilitate streamlined housing development. And provide a mechanism for a housing credit where if Stanford constructs housing now, it could be prorated toward future housing that would be required by a future Nexus study. And just to reiterate, this is feedback from Stanford. So at this point, we're roughly halfway through our presentation. At the pleasure of the committee, we can pause for questions on the housing topics, or we can proceed with the next topic, which is circulation.
Supervisor Smitty, and we don't have any members of the public wishing to speak. Do you have a question, or can we allow the presentation to continue? And Brittany, you're right on your 10 minutes halfway. Good job. Supervisor, what's your pleasure?
There we go. Supervisor Wasserman, if it works for you, I'm inclined to say let's hear the whole presentation.
Okay.
And then go to questions after checking again to see if there are any comments from the public. Okay.
We'll do it. Okay. Thank you. Please continue, Brittany.
All right, next slide, please. So the second chapter we'll cover today is circulation. On Stanford land alone, there are approximately 72,000 jobs and students. Nearby downtown Palo Alto has thousands of jobs and residents as well. And so one issue that is immediately apparent is that any transportation policy to curb congestion would take a system-wide approach. What we emphasized in the context added to the circulation chapter is that the Stanford University campus is a unique setting where common challenges to circulation management are reduced. This is attributed to the proximity of interrelated values such as land use, density, and transit accessibility. As a result, the Stanford campus setting creates unique opportunities for coordinated problem solving across the area for walking, bicycling, and transit use. And together, these ultimately provide an opportunity to alleviate local congestion and reduce dependence on single occupant automobiles, allowing for greater access and mobility. We also have support with the existing 3 strategies in the circulation chapter. Number 1, avoid worsening of traffic congestion through land use and transportation demand management. Number 2, alleviate local congestion. And number 3, alleviate local congestion during special events. In these next 2 slides, I'll provide a summary of changes to the key policies and implementation measures in the circulation chapter. And again, I will indicate how the policy may compare with the 2000 SCP or recommended conditions of approval during the review of the 2018 GUP. The first issue expands the existing no net new commute trips SCP policy to include the reverse commute direction and monitor during the morning and evening peak hours, as well as the 3-hour peak periods. This was a concept first raised during the 2018 GUP application process and has continued to become a recommendation in the SCP update. We've also included completely new recommendations, such as reducing vehicle miles traveled, or VMT, and broadening access to transportation demand TDM programs for Stanford affiliates, encouraging trip reductions by aligning the circulation and housing chapters, and including language to encourage public circulation across the entire campus. Finally, While allowing trip credits is a continuation of efforts in the 2000 SCP, the SCP does include a proposal to expand the trip credit area. Continuing now onto the second half of policy and implementation issues. The following proposed changes in the SCP update reflect former recommendations during the 2018 GUP review. These include requiring enhancements to safe and efficient pedestrian and bicycle access across the campus and to designated school sites, providing additional clarity for the advanced public notification of special events, and requiring the preparation of a special event management plan. Holding the approval of additional development permits if Stanford has not fully complied with specific SCP performance standards is also a carryover of the 2018 GUP application review. However, this recommendation would replace a previous policy that allowed Stanford to provide alternative compliance through intersection improvements. Finally, of the chapter updates listed here, the provision of centralized locations for deliveries is a new recommendation. The primary feedback from Stanford relative to the circulation policy updates is concerned that the no net new commute trips standard will remain. Stanford sees this as contradictory to the current shift of the planning profession towards a vehicle miles traveled approach, especially as it relates to mitigating project impacts through CEQA. I'd like to conclude this discussion on circulation by summarizing how the updates to the housing and circulation chapters are designed to work collaboratively to increase housing supply while decreasing congestion. Increasing the housing supply is supported by locating housing on and near campus, providing supportive services near housing, and requiring area-wide pedestrian and bicycle infrastructure improvements. Decreasing congestion is supported through the application of EMT standards and enhancing the assessment of both reverse commute trips and commute trips during expanded periods of the day. Next slide, please. We'll now move on to other policy updates before we wrap up. The following is a list of additional updates recommended by staff that extend beyond the recommended updates to the housing and circulation chapters. Limiting future GUP approvals to 10 years maximum, relocation of the potential future public school site, extending the academic growth boundary to 99 years, subject to a 4/5 vote from the Board of Supervisors. We did hear a lot about this during the 2018 GUP application process. New campus design guidelines, incorporating the county health element, and finally, incorporating recommendations from the municipal services, graduate student housing affordability, and childcare studies. The key feedback we've received from Stanford on these other policy topics focuses on 3 points. First, concerns relative to the extension of the AGB for 99 years. Stanford has put forward concerns that California's own Office of Planning and Research recommends a 20-year planning horizon, which is a shorter time period than the proposed 99 years. Second, Stanford raised concerns that the SCP updates financially obligate the university to fund municipal services, a requirement Stanford does not believe has legal standing. And similarly, the third concern relates to any required financial obligations Stanford would have to the Palo Alto Unified School District. The university has expressed that this would be in conflict with the state's constitution. Next slide. Moving on to next steps. The next public meeting on this subject is a study session with the full board. The first on September 27th, and then a second one that will be held on October 18th. After these study sessions, we will further refine the chapters and then proceed with the final review and consideration process of the SCP updates later this fall, with the anticipation of board consideration in December 2022. That concludes my presentation. Thank you for your attention this morning. Our team is available for any further questions or comments.
Thank you, Brittany and Sean and Marianne and Jeff. I appreciate that. Dave, would you please confirm we don't have any members of the public wishing to speak? And I'll turn to Supervisor Simidian.
That is confirmed, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Supervisor Simidian.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Let me get myself back in the picture here, literally and figuratively. First, let me say thank you to the staff. I think this is a really substantial effort coming out of the withdrawn GUP application back in November of 2019. And I think the work done to embed some of these really sound planning practices in our community plan is well done. So thank you to staff. Thank you to the consulting team. I know you all are looking for some feedback from the committee. So what I'd like to do is give you some, if the chair will permit.
Yep.
Let me ask that we go back to page 16 in the PowerPoint presentation. And I'll channel my inner Mike Wasserman here and say, that's why these page numbers are so important. So you could say, let's go back to page 16. So if we could look at page 16 on the screen again through the chair.
Bringing it up. Brittany, are you bringing that up?
Yeah, Sharon, can you please share the PowerPoint presentation? Thank you.
There we
And
go.
go to, is that 16?
Yeah. Here's my feedback as one supervisor and a member of this committee, and of course the district representative for District 5, which contains these subject lands. And what I would say is, I am sympathetic actually to the desire for greater flexibility. What I would say to our staff and our consulting team, however, is whatever flexibility can be provided needs to be provided in a way that still ensures that the goals of the community plan are met, and that the flexibility provided does not end up constituting a loophole that someone who is looking for non-compliance could use. So I want to distinguish between flexibility and loopholes. And I also want to say, flexibility is okay. It's desirable, actually, if we can ensure that goals are met, notwithstanding the flexibility. If the goal is to get from point A to point B, I take your point that we don't really need to be overly prescriptive about how to get there, but we do have to make sure we get there. So I think that's the point I want to convey. I will say the fourth bullet point here about crediting housing built now toward a future GUP requirement is an absolute non-starter. Full stop. So that fourth bullet is just an absolute non-starter as far as I am concerned. If we can go to page 23, where I think we also had some feedback from the university. This is another one that for me, and it's just ironic, of course, that we just had the discussion about vehicle miles traveled. This is another one that I think just has to be a non-starter in terms of the request from the university. Supervisor Wasserman, for constituents, residents of the surrounding communities, whether that's Los Altos Hills, Palo Alto, Mountain View, Menlo Park, Atherton, Redwood City, and residents of the Stanford campus themselves, they need some assurance that the no net new commute trips, which has been a policy for 20 years, continues to be a policy, because as we discussed earlier, the fact that vehicle miles traveled has been reduced is cold comfort if you're someone stuck in traffic, because we have 3 times the number of trips we had last week, last month, last year. So again, to the extent that staff and the consulting team are looking for feedback, that would be a non-starter in my judgment. And then let's go to page 27, if we could. And I've got thoughts about all of these, but I'll just limit it to the first one. I think the AGB extension for 99 years, it needs to be implemented. I think staff and the consulting team are on the right direction here. I will just respectfully point out, understanding the planning horizon argument and the flexibility argument, there are leases at Stanford Research Park, which are Stanford lands, which the university has entered into for 75 or 99 years. So, it's clear that they can live without flexibility there if it's an income generator. And I would simply say, I think the same longer term horizon is appropriate in terms of open space and the unsuitability of the foothills for development. That is particularly the case given the fact that the sustainability study that was prepared in the GUP process indicates that the university could continue to expand to nearly 3 times its current size by staying in the flatlands on the core campus, which is what a smart growth strategy would entail. And the last thing I'll point out, Mr. Chairman, in support of maintaining this commitment to 99 years is this is actually a more flexible tool than I think many people realize. It's certainly more flexible than some people would like. The 4/5 vote requirement still allows action by our board on a 4/5 vote. It's just a super majority. And the lawyers in county counsel's office would remind us that technically the 4/5 vote requirement could be removed by 3 out of 5 board members if they wanted to take the action. So if it means there are some serious hoops to jump through before development pushes up into the foothills, I would say, good, that's a good thing. There should be some serious hoops. My hope and expectation, frankly, is that it won't happen. But I think this is a critical part of the product that staff has brought back to us. If we could go to page 28 next. One of the questions I had here was about a note in a letter we have from the city of Palo Alto, which I want to get back to in a minute, that says that the city, this is a letter dated September 14th, requests additional opportunities for continued engagement. And I have a feeling that that sentence or phrase is full of meaning that may not be altogether obvious, but is there some conversation, or has there been some conversation with the city of Palo Alto about engaging them, some kind of a public meeting, or just at least an appearance at their council? Where does all that stand? If somebody could help me read more into that sentence than is readily apparent to me.
Thank you. Brittany? Jacqueline?
I'm going to defer to Jeff on this one.
Jeff Bradley. Go ahead, Jeff.
Thanks, Brittany. Thanks, Chairperson Wasserman. This is Jeff Bradley with M Group. We've had some off and on contacts with Palo Alto staff throughout this process, mostly focused on the housing and transportation issues, and a little bit with the municipal services study. We did have a request for a focused study session with the Palo Alto Council on the municipal service study several months ago, but the timing we weren't able to make work out. So there may be a desire for additional information sharing on that front.
All right. Well, thank you, Mr. Bradley. That's a helpful clarification. As I say, I knew I was supposed to read something into that sentence. I just couldn't tell what it was that had preceded the letter. We'll work with you and the city and see where things stand. Obviously, I want to make sure that information is shared with an affected jurisdiction, and also that we have the benefit of their thoughts as we move forward. Speaking of benefit of their thoughts, and as I say earlier, and thanks and congrats to the staff for this effort and the consulting team, I thought the nature and extent of the good work was reflected by the fact, Mr. Chairman, that we have, Mr. Wasserman, some of these are late arriving. I don't know if you've got them all, but we have letters from the town of Atherton, the town of Redwood City, and unincorporated and county of San Mateo, all expressing their support for the staff recommendations. We have similar letters on this side of the county line from the city of Palo Alto and the city of Mountain View. And I think all that, as I say, is a testament to the good work that staff has done when you've got
Agreed.
5 different jurisdictions weighing in at this point in the process. On this schedule, I just want to confirm that staff said that following the study sessions, they would be able to bring this to us this year, 2022, December. Understand there may be some legal and cleanup work later, but we will, following these 2 study sessions, see the item before the end of the calendar year. Is that correct?
Yes, we will see these policies and the amendments to them this calendar year. And I also want to indicate that the companion CEQA analysis will follow in 2023. So ultimate final adoption by the board would occur in 2023.
Great. All right. Well, I don't think,
Public speakers.
I asked the question about engagement with the city of Palo Alto, but noting that there is also there are some recommendations that clearly affect the local school district, the Palo Alto Unified School District. Have staff or consultants been in recent contact with the school district?
Yes, Vice Chair Smitty, we have been in contact with the superintendent of the Palo Alto Union School District around this effort, and they're aware of the scheduling.
Okay, and are they aware of the recommendations as well?
Yes.
Okay, what I'm trying to avoid is that occasional 12th hour person who rushes to the microphone and says, wait a minute, we weren't involved or consulted. And it sounds to me like you've taken steps to make sure that doesn't happen with respect to schools matters. Is that fair?
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair. That's all I have today. And
Thank you. We're going to turn to 3 members of the public to speak for 2 minutes each. David?
Next speaker is Peter Dreckmeyer. I'm unmuting you. Please accept the unmute. You'll have 2 minutes to speak. The timer will start when you begin speaking.
Thank you. This is Peter Dreckmeyer. I've been following Stanford development issues since the mid-90s. I served formerly on the Palo Alto City Council, and I'm currently a member of the Community Resources Group. I mostly want to thank staff and the consultants for excellent work on this. And I think it's very wise to get this process done prior to a new GUP so that everyone knows what the playing field is. And I also want to acknowledge the tremendous leadership of Supervisor Simidian for many decades on these issues, perhaps not 6 or 7, but certainly more than 2. And we really appreciate you, Supervisor Simidian. The academic growth boundary issue is very important to the communities surrounding Stanford and to the Stanford community itself. I'm one of those people who feels like it's too flexible, and we've lobbied for a long time for permanent protection of the foothills. So certainly you want to hold on to that and perhaps even strengthen it. Another concern of neighboring communities who send children to the Palo Alto Unified School District is not wanting to subsidize students affiliated with Stanford. Perhaps legally it can't be required, but it certainly can be encouraged. Stanford's asking for a lot of entitlements that aren't guaranteed, and I think there's opportunities there to bargain with them. I'm really glad you're looking at municipal services, very important. And as Supervisor Smidian pointed out, the Sustainable Development Study has shown that Stanford could essentially triple in size without going into the foothills. So it's important that they house people on site. I'm really glad you're looking at workers, not just faculty and staff and students. That was a really big issue during the recent GUP discussions. The students got very involved in that. So you're on the right track. I really appreciate your efforts and look forward to the next step. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter.
Next speaker is Alice Kaufman. You have 2 minutes to speak. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chair Wasserman and Supervisor Smidian. Alice Kaufman, Policy and Advocacy Director for Greenfoot Hills. First, I agree with everything that's been said about the academic growth boundary by Supervisor Smidian and Peter Dreckmeyer. I won't repeat that, but I wanted to talk today about the housing chapter because I think it's important to step back and take a look at the bigger picture. And some of these issues were covered earlier in this meeting today. But basically, we're in a housing crisis, and every city and county in the state is being asked to do everything possible to increase housing production, including in Santa Clara County. But there are very few places in the unincorporated county where we can add more housing without causing significant and unavoidable impacts in terms of increased greenhouse gases and air pollution, increased wildfire risk, loss of farmland, impacts to wildlife habitat, and increase in VMT. The Stanford campus is one of the few large unincorporated pockets that is not out in the rural farmland and hillside areas where locating new housing would cause all of those impacts. And furthermore, this is an issue of equity. State law requires jurisdictions to equitably distribute new housing, especially affordable housing, among resource-rich communities not located all in low-income areas such as rural agricultural communities. The Stanford campus is probably the best option we have in our entire region to address these problems. Providing housing within walking distance of where people work and attend school is the ideal way to plan communities, but it's hardly ever feasible. This is really a unique opportunity. So while I appreciate Stanford's desire for more flexibility, in this case, that would mean flexibility to increase greenhouse gas emissions, flexibility to increase loss of our remaining farmland, flexibility to increase inequity. So I would respectfully urge Stanford to do its fair share and for the county to proceed without further delays in approving the plan, which I agree with everybody else. It's been great work by staff. And I don't think we need to be going over it over and over again further. Thank you.
Thank you, Alice.
Next speaker is Vince Rocha. You have 2 minutes to speak. Please go ahead.
Hi, everyone. Vince Rocha with the Silicon Valley Leadership Group, Vice President of Housing and Community Development, and appreciate the presentation by staff today and the work of everyone so far in this plan. I just have a few questions. As it pertains to this community plan, the feasibility as discussed earlier, one of the things I'm looking at is a lot of the cities I think mentioned earlier, like Menlo Park, Mountain View, Sunnyvale, have been significant rezonings and their own community plans to create more housing and mixed use development. And as I look at this, a lot of them focus on using VMT and not total trip caps. And I'm wondering, I haven't seen any guidance from the Office of Planning from the state of California that says that this is a valid method of computing trips, as well as, you have one set of standards for everybody else and then a separate set of standards here. I'm not sure if that's compliant with like housing element law in the state of California. So just wondering like about the feasibility of creating two standards, a VMT standard and then a separate standard, and what that implies here about the possibility of Stanford having or the county having a compliant housing element, and if those standards are going to be applied to every type of development in the county anywhere. So just kind of wondering, are we looking at consistency in our laws and application of our laws and rules? And, and there's other opportunities in the county too. I would urge a separate conversation, love to have a discussion with staff about development around the Caltrain stations in the county on county land. I know you have some in South County, the opportunity for, a very focused, intentional, environmentally friendly type of development near transit. And again, appreciate the time of everyone here.
Thank you.
And that concludes our request to speak.
Thank you, David. I appreciate that. Appreciate all the comments, the staff, the report, and all the rest. And serious issue. It's been going on for a long time. It's still got whiles to go, but there's a lot of impact one way or the other that can be made. And I think it's very important that we're all going through these steps. The public's kept involved. I'm glad the Palo Alto School District was included from the beginning. The impact is enormous. The roads enormous, the jobs, the housing. These are all very significant things. And Supervisor Smidian, as the supervisor of that district, I thank you for your efforts championing these concerns and this involvement for as long as you have.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I will simply ask that we formally move staff recommendation, which is to receive the report and refer it to the full board per the schedule that staff described today.
Thank you.
And if I get a second, I have only one more thing to say.
All right, second.
The one more thing is, I know this is now a matter of even greater importance to you because you are now a resident of District 5. So thank you very much for that.
You know, that was a good one. That was a good one.
Thank you, sir.
All right. All right, we now move on. David, I believe.
You need to call the roll. Thank you.
I believe we move on to item, we've got 8 and 9 left, correct, David?
Yes, but we do need a vote on that item, Mr. Chair.
Let's have a roll call vote, please.
Vice Chairperson Simidian?
Aye.
And Chairperson Wasserman?
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you.
For
Mr.
catching me.
Wasserman, given the length of my District 5 items, in all seriousness, I think I can be helpful in expediting this next item if you would like.
Yes, please.
I don't want to curtail staff report, but I think the staff did a nice job of identifying the importance of interim milestones when we go to a compliance agreement as a way to bring some accountability to these efforts. I also thought the staff did a nice job of identifying the need for a greater sense of urgency so that if a milestone isn't met, the result would be immediate cessation of operations to give some people skin in the game. And finally, I should say, I thought the staff was very wise to note the importance of having a financial assurance in place so that the eventual reclamation is ensured, not just in the area that's within an existing rec plan, but for the entire property. So with all of that said, I'll just say thank you and move approval of the recommendation, which is to receive report, but also direct staff to proceed with a new compliance agreement and include in that compliance agreement interim milestones with consequences for failure to meet the interim milestones and requirements to have a full and comprehensive financial assurance document in place to protect the public and the taxpayers. That's my motion.
Thank you. I'll second that. And I'm going to echo the reclamation portion of this process, whether it be by the quarry, whether it's purchased by another entity, and there's assurances there. I really hope when and if we get to the reclamation point, they really dig deep, that it's a flexible number. Government moves very slowly. My guess is the previous number that we heard will be way low eventually when and if it ever happens. So Jacqueline, I appreciate your including that concern from me in your notes, that any number be flexible, because if and when that property is ever reclaimed, I want it to be reclaimed fully so that it's usable for other purposes. And Jacqueline, I see your hand raised, and then we have one speaker.
Yes, I just want to say thank you to our County Counsel, Elizabeth Pianca, working very closely with Lisa Mikhail and Rob Salisbury and myself, so that we were addressing the totality of the issues that have been raised. So we really appreciate Elizabeth Pianca working with us.
Thank you. And in 18 pages, you get the award for this meeting. All right, David, please turn to our speaker. I see one at the moment.
That's correct. I see one as well. Next speaker is Rhoda Fry. I'm unmuting you. Please accept the unmute. You'll have 2 minutes to speak. The timer will start when you begin speaking.
Hi, this is Rhoda. I'd like to see more transparency in the report, perhaps for the next Hewlett meeting. I'd like to see the comparison between the first compliance agreement for Stevens Creek Quarry and where we are at now and where we're going, because all we see in the report is the amendment. So I'd like to see what's happened with the goalposts. The same thing is true for the omnibus notice of violation. I'd like to know where we're at for each of those agenda items. The other concerns I have about this quarry are about, and I sent you an email on this, and I'm on my phone, so I'm losing track of myself. You know, there's some impoundments, also known as they're dams, over at the quarry, and I'd like to see a report on the status of those dams, where they're at, especially if there's a flooded event, because they were never permitted. And the other thing that's really important to the residents in the area is that there have been significant amounts of queuing of trucks on Stevens Canyon Road, which is the continuation of Foothill. Many of us, it's the road that leads up past the reservoir, and you know, that's an issue for the people who live there, and it's part of the conditional use permit. I don't think I've ever even seen any signage on that road that says no queuing. Trucks are queuing, and it's impacting the residents, and I'm just begging you guys to do your job and regulate that quarry. And that's it. I thank you very much, and thanks for all your hard work.
That concludes our speakers.
Thank you. And David, before you move us on, would you do a roll call vote, please?
Vice Chairperson Simidian.
Aye.
Chairperson Wasserman.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. We now move on, Supervisor Simidian, to item number 9, presented by County Council. I see the wonderful Lizanne Reynolds there. This is the status report regarding Lehigh Cement Plant and quarry property options.
Yes, so the board referred this matter to the administration and county council in February. And as you all know, the Lehigh property is quite complex. So determining acquisition options is going to be a more complicated effort because of that. And compounding that is we have a reclamation plan that was approved in 2012 that I understand needs to be updated. We are expecting Lehigh Quarry to file an amendment to the reclamation plan, so we don't at this point know exactly what they are proposing to do with that reclamation. The effort to explore acquisition options is being handled separately from any regulatory activity that the county is engaging in with respect to the quarry. So we are doing what you would normally consider, you know, having to be done when you're considering an acquisition. You know, what are the potential land uses? What are the potential values? And so we're starting that process for identifying consultants to help us with, outside consultants to help us with those various issues. So at this point, we don't have anything to report, and also any kind of an acquisition process would be confidential. So that's all we have right now.
Gotcha. I appreciate the update. Vice Chair, if it's okay with you, we'll recognize our speaker and then come to you.
Thank you very much.
You got it. David, you're on.
Next speaker is Brian Schmidt. You have 2 minutes to speak. Please go ahead.
Good morning or almost afternoon, Brian Schmidt for Green Foothills. And a few months ago, there was a referral by the supervisors to staff on a groundwater protection, potential groundwater protection ordinance from quarrying, to keep quarrying from interfering with groundwater. Since we're discussing here the future of Lehigh Quarry, I thought that might be relevant to find out the status of that referral and see if that can be, if that is in the mix, so to say, about what's going to happen at Lehigh. So I wanted to see if that question could be referred to staff. Thank you.
Next speaker is Rhoda Fry. You have 2 minutes to speak. Please go ahead.
Good morning again. I have submitted my comments by email, although they're late. You know, reclamation at the quarry is overdue. The state Surface Mining and Reclamation Act requires that reclamation happen concurrently. It's not after mining is complete, it's concurrent. And it's getting to be a very big problem up there. As far as the other thing is that, in my opinion, and I've listed this, given this to you before, the Lehigh has erected a new aggregate rock plant there, for which I do not believe they have any land use authority. I've done an extensive research on the potential for vested rights up there, which they do not have. And I've provided all the legal precedent for that and a number of emails, although I didn't send them this morning. You can reach out to me if you'd like to have that information again. So, you know, I'm just begging you guys to please regulate this facility. Also, for a number of reasons, I believe that the financial assurance cost estimate continues to be too low. And I should even couch that with saying the cost to basically reclaim the whole area, because as you know, anything in the cement plant operations is not included in the financial assurance cost estimate. And that's how it works, because it's not part of the quarry. But there's going to be a significant amount of work there. The other things is you did receive a report from your own department, you know, the third-party report that showed that FACE was inadequate. And the state also chimed in. And I'm going to add that for one thing, the massive landslide that's above Permanente Creek is not included, and that's going to be a huge cost. They also added many credits for steel recycling, which was, I think, overblown. Thank you.
That concludes our speakers.
Thank you. And I'm going to turn Supervisor Smith. We had a question posed by Brian during the public speaking portion. Sylvia or Lizanne, is there a response that can be given at this time or not? Elizabeth?
Certainly, I'm happy to respond to that. The draft of the ordinance was presented to the board at the board meeting on August 30th with direction for the Planning Commission to consider. So the ordinance will be presented to the Planning Commission later this year, and then will be forwarded to the board again for final action.
Thank you. Supervisor Smitty, your hand is now down.
No, I just, I'm happy to move that we receive the report. I would just say I think all of this is taking longer than we had hoped, but that's the way these things go. A couple of observations, just full disclosure, Mr. Wasserman, I want to say that, you know, I've been in a series of Zoom meetings, probably half a dozen since the referral with folks at Lehigh, in an effort to explore different paths to what I would call a good outcome. My primary goal, understanding the property rights and respecting the property rights of the owner, is to see if we can't find a way to bring an end to incompatible uses and then ensure that the reclamation is satisfactorily addressed. And I think what I would say is, and Ms. Reynolds hinted at this, you know, there's more than one way to get there. You know, one possibility that I suggested at the outset was an outright acquisition for public use. Another possibility might be some kind of an open space easement on all or most of the site with some minimal use, minimal benign use on some other part of the property. So exploring those options is going to take some time, but I wanted to just convey to staff, I still have a sense of, and the public, that I still have a sense of urgency about this. And I did want to sunshine the fact that those meetings have taken place because I think I got to get a better understanding of what the property owner is motivated by if we're going to have these conversations reach a good result. Other than that, happy to just move receipt and say to be continued, but with a sense of urgency. Okay.
All right, thank you. And since you said move it, I'll second it. David, why don't you take our roll call vote?
Vice Chairperson Simidian.
Aye.
Chairperson Wasserman.
Aye as well.
Thank you.
I'm going back to my agenda. We handled 10 through 19 actually, correct, David?
That is correct.
We did that under consent. 20 brings us to adjournment, which is to October 20th at 10 a.m. Location to be determined. We'll go from there. Everybody else, have a nice lunch. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Take care, everybody. Thank you all for your hard work.
Recording stopped.
And with that, this meeting has concluded.